if your kids gave you another cheap gift this Father's Day, or if they didn't give you one at all, maybe it's time you teach them about money. But how do you do that? And when do you start? Joining us now from San Francisco with some answers is Armin Brott. He's the author of a new book, Fathering Your Toddler. And he also writes the Mr. Dad column for several newspapers across the country. Armin, welcome.
Hey, my pleasure to be here.
Now, so what can you teach your 2- or 3-year-old about money besides don't put it in your mouth to taste that?
That's a very important thing to do. Well, I think it's the issue is we really want to start teaching them about money so it doesn't become such a big mystery later on in life. And it can be used as a tremendous learning experience. I mean, they can learn how to categorize things, they can learn how to count, they can learn how to do some simple percentages and division and addition and things like that. Plus, I think for me, one of the biggest things in teaching my kids was teaching them a little bit of the value of what you do with money besides just spend it. Saving it up for college, saving it up for maybe a couple of weeks to buy something big, and then the big one that my dad did with me was giving it away, figuring out how you want to give it to charity.
Well, let's talk about bribery for a moment. Let's talk about having your 3-year-old or 4-year-old, pick up his or her toys, and then he or she gets 50 cents, or in some tax brackets, maybe they get $5. I don't know. Is it good to give children money for doing things, or is that kind of generating some of the wrong kind of behavior?
Well, that particular thing, I think, is really generating the wrong kind of behavior. I think we don't want to give kids rewards for doing the basic things that they really should be doing, like cleaning up after themselves, doing that kind of stuff. That should really be looked at as being, you're a member of the family. These are some kind of things that we do. Everybody does it. Mommy does it. Daddy does it. Your big sister, everybody does it. Even the dog brings the newspaper in. People do things to support the general good of the family, and so we're not going to give you a reward for that. You can though, give rewards for things going above and beyond, cleaning the litter box, or chores that are just above and beyond the basic minimum that kids should be doing.
Okay, so at what age can you really start talking to children about money? Is it as simple as incorporating nickels and dimes as a way to help children count, or is it a little bit more advanced than that?
Well, I think that starts right there, probably at about age 2. They're really more interested in nickels and dimes and quarters than any other kind of shiny round things because we always have it in our pockets. We're always doing something with it. So we can begin to teach them little lessons about that. But I guess it's also, it's a question of if they're going to start bringing the issue up, like, can you buy me something? And you say, well, no, I don't have any money. And they say, well, why don't you go to one of those machines and get some, which is the typical toddler kind of way of looking at the world. And so you can begin to have discussions about, okay, I have to work for this, and then I get some money. Then we take it to the grocery store, and I have to give them 2 quarters and a nickel to get this apple.
Okay, so Armin's here. I got the situation at home. I got twin daughters, okay? And I've been trying to do the money thing, okay? They're around 5. One of them will take the money, go run into the piggy bank, puts it in there. She's a saver, and she's just being very wise about it. The other one is like, hey, Dad, I got $1 here. Let's go get some cotton candy. I'll treat, huh? Let's just spend it. She spends. So I kind of wonder the nature-nurture argument. I have an experiment going on, and it seems to me there's some hardwiring involved where some kids are going to get it and some kids aren't. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Some kids are just going to be spending everything they can possibly get their hands on, and other kids are just going to be like your daughter. They're going to save it up, and one of these days you're going to have to borrow money from her, and she's going to have a whole bunch of it.
Oh, good.
Speaking of saving, we have the lowest savings rate in this country of the Western world, and, people keep saying that it really is tough. Do we need to be teaching our kids that they don't need to grow up to be consumers, that we all are, and they need to start saving more money? Do we need to teach them that money can grow, and at what age do we do that? I mean, I remember that when I was growing up, my dad didn't like us to give him Father's Day gifts because he saw it seriously as a waste of money. He wanted us to save our money so we could save our money to grow up for college, and that was really hammered home to us.
Well, I think you've got to have a little bit of a mix of that. It's nice to be able to instill a really good message of saving, the importance of saving, and again, the importance of charity, but we really don't want people to be misers, little kids to be misers. We want them to understand the importance. It's very nice to give people gifts. It makes them think that you're thinking of them. So I think a little bit of both is really a necessary thing.
I think it says a lot about the kind of gifts we were probably giving my dad as well, frankly.
Well, he may have just been saying that as a really nice way of saying, I have enough ties, thank you.
Armin, on this Father's Day weekend, let's bring up an important point that I noticed in your bio, which is that you are a pioneer. You were a stay-at-home dad, and there are now more of those. What is that like? For instance, doing a lot of the work that was typically assigned to women. And did you have little coffee clutches with other women. Can you just sort of describe what that whole experiment was like?
You know, it was really difficult, and it still is difficult for stay-at-home dads because we don't really get involved in the coffee classes, and there's really it's kind of an isolating experience. Is that guys are not really so willing to talk about these things. We don't go to the parks and make friends with all the mothers around there and figure out all the wonderful recipes and places to buy great things like that. So it is a little bit isolating. Plus, there's not so much support. People don't know what to do with stay-at-home dads. I remember I got this, and so many guys I've interviewed over the years, you know, people will say, "Hey, are you babysitting?" I said, "Well, no, I'm not really babysitting. I'm taking care of my kids." Or the other one was, "You know, it's really too bad. I really hope you get a job sometime soon. It must be awful being out of work." And it's not awful being out of work because it's not really work. It's taking care of the kids, and it's a valuable job. But it's sort of, you know,
rewarding work
obstacles.
there is, isn't it?
You know, and nobody will tell you otherwise. Nobody will ever say that he wished he would have spent less time with his kids.
All right, and this is changing so much, too. Armin Brott, thank you so much for joining us. The book is called Fathering Your Toddler, A Dad's Guide to the Second and Third Years. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up.